The sky outside was gray as Wendy sat across from Elaine's immaculate desk, watching her boss flip through the promotion application with practiced disinterest. 5 years of sacrificed weekends, missed family dinners, and endless overtime hours condensed into a 20-page portfolio that Elaine barely glanced at before setting it aside. I appreciate your enthusiasm, Elaine said, adjusting her designer glasses, but I've reviewed your application thoroughly, and while your work has been adequate, I don't believe you're qualified for senior management, perhaps in another year or two. Adequate. The word dropped between them like a stone. I maintained the department's highest client satisfaction ratings. I personally saved the Lawford account when everyone else had written it off. I haven't taken a full weekend off in 3 years. But I only smiled and nodded, the practiced expression I'd perfected in corporate America. I understand. Thank you for the feedback. I'm glad we're on the same page, Elaine replied, already checking her watch. The Ellison proposal needs your attention today. They've requested additional metrics before signing. As I gathered my things, Elaine was already typing an email, my career disappointment already forgotten. I walked past the corner office that should have been mine, with its window view and glass door where my name belonged. In the parking garage, I sat in my car and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. The woman looking back at me wasn't sad or even angry. She looked calculating. I started the engine and made 2 decisions that would change everything. I would cancel my upcoming vacation, and I would stop writing my daily operational guides. No one at the office knew it yet, but their perfect system was about to crash without its invisible support beam. Before I tell you what happened next, you might be wondering why so many people feel stuck in careers where they're undervalued. If my story resonates with you, make sure to like and subscribe. I share a new career strategy every week that might just change your professional life. Now, back to what happened after that meeting. My name is Amelia Carlton, and until that meeting, I was the most reliable employee at Meridian Solutions. Not the most visible or the highest paid, but the one who kept everything running while others took credit. I'm methodical by nature, with an almost photographic memory for systems and processes. Growing up with 4 younger siblings taught me to solve problems before they exploded, a skill that transferred perfectly to corporate life. When I joined the company 5 years ago, I'd inherited a catastrophic mess. The previous team leader had departed abruptly after a disagreement with management, taking all procedural knowledge with them. No documentation, no transition notes, not even passwords to critical systems. The department was in chaos. Clients were threatening to leave, and nobody knew how to fix it. I spent 3 months reverse engineering every workflow, staying until midnight decoding spreadsheets and reconstructing client histories. I created detailed guides for every process, color-coded, indexed, and meticulously organized. My boss Elaine never bothered to learn these systems. Why would she when I handled everything so smoothly? You're a natural problem solver, she'd say during my performance reviews, always followed by a modest raise that never matched my contributions. The company had recently landed a contract with Ellison Enterprises, a major client worth millions in annual revenue. I'd built that relationship from nothing, staying late to accommodate their overseas time zone and learning their industry thoroughly. Elaine had attended exactly 3 meetings, mostly to claim credit during quarterly executive reviews. Each morning, I arrived at 7:30 in the morning to prepare briefing notes for Elaine before her 9 o'clock management meeting. Each evening, I sent comprehensive updates on all active projects. In between, I put out fires before anyone noticed smoke. The morning after my rejected promotion, something changed inside me. I arrived at exactly 9 o'clock. Not 7:30, not 8:45, exactly 9. I drafted no briefing notes. I answered emails directly addressed to me and ignored the rest. When a crisis erupted with a supplier, I directed it to the appropriate department instead of solving it myself as usual. By lunch, 3 people had stopped by my desk with confused expressions. "Amelia, did you see the thread about the Lawford scheduling conflict?" asked Peter from accounts. "Yes," I replied, continuing to type. He waited for more, shifting awkwardly when nothing came. "So, can you fix it like you usually do?" I looked up from my screen. That's actually under procurement scope. I forwarded it to Diane. His eyebrows rose slightly. But you always handle these things. I've been advised to focus more on my assigned responsibilities, I said with a small smile. I'm trying to demonstrate that I understand my proper place in the organization. By 5 p.m., I packed up my belongings and left. No extra hours, no taking work home. On my drive, I canceled the cabin reservation for my upcoming vacation, the first real break I'd planned in 3 years. Instead, I would be present for the system's inevitable collapse. That evening, my phone buzzed with work notifications. I silenced it and spent time with my daughter Elena, baking chocolate chip cookies, something I hadn't done in months. As we laughed over misshapen cookie dough, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. Mom, why are you home early? Elena asked, licking batter from a spoon. I paused, considering how to explain corporate politics to a 10-year-old. I decided my time was valuable, honey, and I wanted to spend more of it with you. She beamed. Can we do this tomorrow too? Absolutely, I promised, ignoring the phone vibrating insistently on the counter. By the next morning, cracks were showing at work. The Ellison client had requested urgent changes to their implementation plan, changes only I understood how to make. Elaine attempted to lead the response team but quickly became overwhelmed without my usual detailed briefings. Where are the process notes for the Ellison customizations? She demanded, appearing at my desk at 10:30. They're in the shared drive, I replied pleasantly. Under client implementations. I mentioned it in last month's department meeting. There are hundreds of files there. Which one specifically? I pulled up the folder on my screen. The master document is called Ellison Enterprise Integration, Complete Process Documentation. It's organized by module with tabbed sections. Elaine stared at the 200-page document with barely concealed horror. Can you just handle this directly? The client is waiting. I'd be happy to, I replied, but I have the quarterly compliance review this afternoon. I can get to Ellison first thing tomorrow morning. Her face tightened. This can't wait until tomorrow. I understand. Would you like me to reschedule the compliance review? It's due to the regulators by end of day. She left without answering, her heels clicking aggressively down the hallway. That evening, I turned off all work notifications and took Elena to the park. My personal phone remained silent beside me on the bench as I watched her on the swings, her laughter carrying across the playground. For the first time in years, I was fully present in my personal life. When we returned home, I checked my work phone once. 79 missed calls from various work numbers. Voicemails ranged from confused to desperate to furious. The Ellison team was threatening to pull their contract. 3 systems had developed unexpected issues, all documented in my guides, which nobody had bothered to read. The quarterly compliance report due to regulators was still incomplete. I set the phone down and slept better than I had in years. The next morning, I arrived at precisely 9 o'clock in the morning again. The office atmosphere had transformed overnight. Harried colleagues rushed between meeting rooms. Elaine was visible through her office glass, gesturing frantically on a video call. The regional director's assistant was pacing by the elevator banks. I settled at my desk and methodically organized my tasks for the day. Where have you been? Peter hissed, appearing beside me with wild eyes. Everything's falling apart. Elaine's been trying to reach you since yesterday afternoon. I left at 5 o'clock, I replied calmly. My work hours are 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, as specified in my contract. But the Ellison crisis, what about it? His mouth opened and closed. They're threatening to walk. Nobody can figure out how to implement the changes they need. I nodded thoughtfully. That process requires special handling. It's all documented in the guide I created last year. Nobody can make sense of your documentation without you explaining it, he almost shouted. Before I could respond, Elaine's assistant appeared. Amelia, emergency meeting in the conference room, now. I gathered a notebook and pen, walking unhurriedly to the conference room where Elaine sat with the regional director, Byron Wallace. Their faces were grim, folders spread across the table. Amelia, Byron said, relief evident in his voice. Thank goodness. We need your help with this Ellison situation immediately. I sat down and placed my notebook on the table. Of course, how can I assist? Elaine's face was tight with controlled fury. Let's cut to the chase. What will it take for you to fix this? The promotion? It's yours. I tilted my head slightly. That's a generous offer, but I've been contacted by a competitor. They've offered me a senior management position with a substantial salary increase. Apparently, they believe I'm qualified. The room went silent. Byron's eyes widened while Elaine's narrowed dangerously. You're leaving? Byron asked. When? I haven't accepted their offer yet, I replied. I was taking time to consider my options. Name your price, Byron said immediately. Whatever they're offering, we'll match it. I smiled politely. It's not just about compensation. It's about recognition, respect, and opportunity. The Ellison client specifically asked for you by name, Elaine interjected. You can't possibly leave now. Interesting, I said. So did 4 others in the past month. I reached into my bag and placed a folder on the table. Here's my 2 weeks' notice. I'll help with the transition as my contract requires. Elaine reached for the folder, but Byron was faster. He opened it, scanned the contents, then closed it decisively. This won't be necessary, he said firmly. Amelia, I'd like to speak with you privately in my office. As I stood to follow him, Elaine remained seated, her knuckles white against the polished table. The company's response to my resignation was about to reveal exactly how much they had undervalued me all along, and what they were willing to do to keep me now that they understood my true worth. I followed Byron to his corner office, aware of the curious glances from colleagues as we passed. His space was minimalist, but impressive. Awards and industry recognitions lined one wall, while floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city. He gestured for me to sit in the chair across from his desk. I've been watching your contributions for some time, Byron said, folding his hands on his desk, though apparently not closely enough. I remained silent, letting him continue. The situation with Elaine concerns me, he admitted. This is the first I'm hearing about your promotion being denied. Why didn't you come to me directly? Chain of command, I replied simply. Elaine is my supervisor. Going over her head would have been inappropriate. He nodded slowly. Admirable, but perhaps misguided in this case. Tell me honestly, what would it take to keep you here? I considered my words carefully. Recognition of my actual contributions, appropriate compensation, and a position where I can implement the strategies I've developed instead of just executing someone else's vision. Byron studied me for a long moment. I'm creating a new position, Director of Operational Systems, reporting directly to me. Double your current salary, full remote flexibility 3 days a week, and authority over departmental workflow design. The position is yours if you want it. I didn't respond immediately, which seemed to surprise him. Is that not sufficient? He asked. It's very generous, I acknowledged, but I need to be clear about something. I'm not using a competing offer as leverage. There really is another company waiting for my decision. Byron leaned back. What can they offer that we can't match or exceed? A fresh start, I said honestly. No history of being overlooked. No colleagues who see me as support staff rather than leadership. Fair point, he conceded. But consider this. You've built systems here that you understand intimately. You've cultivated client relationships that trust you. Starting over means rebuilding all of that from scratch. He was right, of course. 5 years of institutional knowledge wasn't easily replaced, but neither was the feeling of being consistently undervalued. I'll need some time to consider, I said finally. Of course, take the weekend, but I need an answer by Monday morning. He stood, signaling the end of our meeting. And Amelia, I'd appreciate if you could help stabilize the Ellison situation before you make any final decisions. I nodded. I'll handle Ellison personally today. When I returned to my desk, an email from Byron was already waiting, outlining the new position offer in writing. The salary figure made me blink twice. It was more than double what I currently earned. The job description could have been written specifically for my skill set. I was gathering materials for the Ellison call when Elaine appeared beside my desk, her expression carefully neutral. We need to talk, she said quietly. Not here. Lunch? I have the Ellison call at noon, I replied. After that then, my office at 2. I nodded, already turning my attention to the crisis at hand. The Ellison team was frustrated but relieved when I joined the call. Their demands were reasonable. They needed customizations that would normally take weeks implemented within days. I walked them through a phased approach that would prioritize their most critical needs while building toward their complete vision. "This is exactly why we wanted to work with your company," their director said. "You understand our business needs, not just technical specifications." After the call, I documented the solution in clear steps and sent it to the implementation team with explicit instructions. Normally, I would have handled every aspect myself, but today I delegated appropriately, making myself available for questions, but not taking ownership of the execution. At 2 o'clock, I knocked on Elaine's door. She looked different, smaller somehow, with dark circles under her eyes, suggesting a sleepless night. "Close the door," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "I understand Byron offered you a new position." "He did," I confirmed. She nodded slowly. "I won't pretend to be happy about it, but I understand why he did it. You're valuable to the company." I waited, sensing there was more. "I owe you an apology," she continued, the words seemingly difficult for her. "I've relied on your competence without appropriately acknowledging it or rewarding it." "May I ask you something?" I said, genuinely curious. "When you said I wasn't qualified for senior management, what specifically did you think I was lacking?" Elaine shifted uncomfortably. "You've always been more technical, the behind-the-scenes problem solver. Senior management requires visibility, presence, political savvy. In other words, I do the work while others take the spotlight." She had the grace to look embarrassed. "That's oversimplifying." "Is it?" I asked. "The Ellison contract who presented the winning strategy to the executive team." "I did, but based on the proposal I developed, the client retention initiative last quarter that saved 4 major accounts, who received the leadership award? That was a team effort. A team I led, coordinated, and created all materials for." I leaned forward slightly. "I'm not lacking qualifications, Elaine. I've simply allowed others to stand on my shoulders while remaining invisible." The silence between us stretched uncomfortably. "Are you taking Byron's offer?" she finally asked. "I haven't decided. If you stay," she said carefully, "things will be different between us." "Yes," I agreed. "They will." The weekend gave me time to think clearly away from office politics. I took Elena to the Science Museum on Saturday, something I'd been promising for months, but never found time for. On Sunday, I called my sister for advice. "What does your gut tell you?" she asked after I explained the situation. "That I've outgrown the box they put me in," I replied. "But I'm not sure if Byron's offer changes that or just makes the box more comfortable." "Would you be reporting to Elaine in this new role?" "No, directly to Byron." "And what happens to Elaine?" It was a good question. Byron didn't say specifically, but reading between the lines, I think her position is being reconsidered. My sister was quiet for a moment. "So your options are to take a fresh start elsewhere, or accept a promotion that might result in your former boss being demoted?" Put that way, the choice felt different. "I don't want revenge against Elaine," I said slowly. "I just want recognition for my work." "Are you sure about that?" my sister challenged. "Because from what you've told me, part of you would enjoy seeing her face the consequences of underestimating you." Her words hit uncomfortably close to home. Was that what I wanted? To see Elaine humbled? To watch her realize how much she'd depended on me while simultaneously dismissing my contributions? By Monday morning, I had made my decision. I arrived early, 7:30 a.m., my old starting time, and went directly to Byron's office. His assistant wasn't at her desk yet, but his door was open. "You're early," he noted, looking up from his computer. "I wanted to give you my answer before the day gets busy," I explained, taking the seat across from him. "And? I'm accepting your offer with 2 conditions." His eyebrows rose slightly. "I'm listening." "First, I want to build my own team. Full hiring authority for 3 positions that I believe are essential." Byron nodded. "Reasonable? And the second?" "Elaine remains in her current position." This clearly surprised him. "After how she treated you? Why?" Because replacing her doesn't solve the structural problems in how the department functions, and because I don't want my first leadership act to be perceived as revenge. He studied me with new interest. That's unexpected and politically astute. I've learned a few things watching from the sidelines, I replied. Very well. Elaine stays, though her department will now coordinate through your office for operational matters. Thank you. No, Amelia, Byron said, extending his hand. Thank you for staying. The announcement will go out this morning. I suggest you prepare for quite a bit of reaction. He wasn't wrong. The company-wide email went out at 10 a.m., announcing my new position and outlining my expanded responsibilities. My inbox immediately flooded with congratulations, questions, and meeting requests. Peter stopped by my desk, looking somewhat sheepish. So, you'll be my boss now? Technically, yes, I confirmed. Is that going to be a problem? He shook his head quickly. No, it's great. You've always been the one who actually knows what's happening anyway. Throughout the day, colleagues who had barely acknowledged me previously suddenly found reasons to introduce themselves. Administrative assistants who had always been kind to me now smiled with a hint of conspiracy. They understood better than anyone how invisible work kept the company running. Elaine avoided me until late afternoon, when she appeared at my desk with a folder. The quarterly strategy document, she said stiffly. Since operational planning now falls under your purview, you'll need to present this at the executive meeting tomorrow. I accepted the folder. Thank you. I'll review it tonight. She turned to leave, then hesitated. For what it's worth, I didn't recommend against your promotion because I thought you were incapable. I did it because I couldn't afford to lose you from my team. It was perhaps the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. That's the fundamental problem, isn't it? I replied. Good managers develop their people even when it means letting them move on. She nodded once, sharply, and walked away. That evening, I stayed late reorganizing my workspace for my new role. Byron stopped by on his way out. Still here? I thought you'd be celebrating. I smiled. I'll celebrate this weekend. Right now, I'm planning. Planning what? How to make sure no one else in this company is overlooked the way I was. I handed him a document I'd been working on. This is my proposed structure for the new department, including training programs to identify internal talent and systematically develop it. He flipped through the pages, eyebrows rising. You developed all this today? No, I admitted. I've been refining it for about 2 years. I just never had the authority to implement it. Byron shook his head, looking impressed. Remind me never to underestimate you, Amelia. That's the plan, I replied with a smile. 3 months later, the transformation was well underway. My new team included a brilliant systems analyst who had been buried in IT support and a process developer who had been miscast as an administrative assistant. Together, we streamlined operations across 4 departments, reducing overtime by 40% while increasing productivity metrics. Elaine and I developed a professional working relationship. It wasn't friendly exactly, but it was respectful. She excelled at client-facing interactions, once freed from operational details she had never fully grasped. In an unexpected development, the division's employee satisfaction scores improved dramatically. The Ellison contract expanded to include 2 additional service lines, specifically requesting my new team's involvement in the implementation. Their CEO personally called Byron to commend the company's remarkable turnaround in operational excellence. On a Friday afternoon, 6 months after my non-promotion, I left the office at 5 p.m., a habit I had maintained despite my increased responsibilities. Elena was waiting when I got home, homework spread across the kitchen table. How was work, Mom? She asked, looking up from her math problems. Productive, I replied, setting down my laptop bag. The new training program launched today. 25 employees will get development opportunities they wouldn't have had before. Like you didn't get? Children see more than we realize. Yes, exactly like that. She considered this for a moment. That's a nice way to fix things. Instead of getting mad, you're making it better for other people. I smiled, recognizing the wisdom in her observation. Sometimes the best response to being undervalued isn't anger. It's demonstrating your true worth so clearly that it can never be questioned again. That evening, as Elena slept and I reviewed presentations for Monday's executive meeting, my phone buzzed with a text from Byron. Board approved your promotion to VP level, effective next month. Unanimous vote. Elaine actually gave the strongest recommendation. Congratulations. I set the phone down, a sense of satisfaction washing over me. This wasn't about winning or revenge. It was about finally being seen, truly seen, for what I had always been capable of doing. The corner office with my name on the door was nice, but it wasn't the victory. The victory was changing a system that had failed not just me, but countless others whose quiet competence went unrecognized. The victory was creating paths for others to rise without having to become invisible first. Sometimes the most powerful response to being underestimated isn't proving others wrong. It's creating a world where talent can no longer be ignored, no matter how quietly it performs. If you've ever felt invisible in your workplace, despite carrying more than your share, I hope my story gives you courage. The skills that make you indispensable are the same ones that qualify you for leadership. Don't wait for others to recognize your value. Demonstrate it so clearly that denying it becomes impossible. And if you found something valuable in this story, please like and subscribe for more strategies on transforming workplace dynamics. Remember, your worth isn't determined by others' inability to see it. It's defined by your impact, whether acknowledged or not.